Let's jump to Lesson 11. Lesson 11 is about doing primary color corrections and color management and looking at scopes. Let's go to the project manager and let's restore a project archive. We'll restore a DRA and we are going to Lesson 11 and restoring this gnarly and pink DRA. Now, in the next 3 lessons, we'll learn a color grading workflow using a real project, a documentary called Gnarly and Pink. It's about a girls' skateboarding club. And once you restore this archive project, you'll begin working with it just as if you'd edited the project in Resolve and were ready to color grade it. Let's open up the project, and here we are. Let's make sure we are in the correct timeline, so Gnarly and Pink edit, and let's go to clip 5. And what we're going to do is enable a color manage workflow. And this will help us normalize the footage. Now, a lot of cameras out there shoot log or really flat sort of look. And when you bring it in, it's really low contrast and it's not really what it should look like at the end. So by enabling a color manage workflow, you're able to normalize a lot of footage from all these different types of cameras that may be in your timeline. Okay, so let's go into File, and we'll bring up our project settings. We'll jump down to the Color Management tab, and in our color space and transform, the color science, currently it's at Rgb. Let's move down to Rgb Color Manage. Then it enables all these other options here. So the 3 options that we'll look at are input color space, the timeline color space, and the output color space. Now the timeline and output color space we are going to keep the same at Rec 709 Gamma 2.4, assuming we're going to, let's say, output this and we'll watch it on a regular HD television. Now the input color space, that's something that we're going to change. Now because these clips were shot on a Blackmagic 4.6K digital cinema camera, we are going to set the input color space to that specific camera, which is Blackmagic Design 4.6K film V3. So that's the color space in which it was shot at. Once we do that, we'll hit save. You may not see anything change, so you want to make sure that the input color space on the clip is not set to bypass. So we want to make sure that it is set at project. When we do that, you can see that the color of the clip changed. So what we're going to do for all of our clips, I'll hit Command A to select all of them, and I'm right-clicking and changing the input color space to the project. So now all the clips have now been normalized. Now this, however, doesn't mean that it's going to white balance everything if it was shot incorrectly. So the results depend on the camera and how the image was originally exposed. It is important to note that we haven't color corrected these clips. Although they may appear to look a little better, if the clips were overexposed, they'll look even more overexposed. If they were shot with the wrong white balance, they'll still display an incorrect white balance. What we've done is just correct the gamma levels from a flat image so that it suits the display device, which we've chosen as Rec 709. Now, with it done, we can start our color correction process. First, I want to talk about making automatic correction. Now, sometimes you miss white balance, things like that, exposure. So Resolve gives you the ability to use automatic corrections. So let's jump to number 14, clip 14. So let's adjust the black points and the white points using these color wheel pickers. So in the black point right here, let's find the part of this image that is totally black. Let's look like this area in the shadow looks fully black. And then there's a part where it's a white point here. Let's zoom in a little bit on this. That looks like it's a white helmet. And we'll find and use this as a white point. Okay, and you can see that the image changed a little. So I'll disable before, after, before, after. So you can see that it balanced out the image a little bit with the color and the exposure. So let's use our color wheels to balance color and brightness. Let's go to clip number 8. Let's take a look at this clip right here. All right, so some of the issues that we see, the contrast is a little too low. The white walls are a little dull. The shadows appear a little gray. So let's improve the contrast. And we'll use our lift master wheel. Let's drop that down. And okay. Let's drop it down to -0.1. And let's increase the highlights. Let's bring it up just a tiny bit. And let's take a look before and after. Hitting Command and D. All right, this looks much better. Let's check our adjustments on our scopes. So go to the bottom right and let's click on the scopes tool and bring that up. And it's on parade. If it's not on parade, you can click this drop down and choose the parade scopes. Now, each of these scopes here, they map out each color channel individually. So the graph is red from bottom to top with the absolute black, which is down here at 0, and then absolute white at the top for these scopes here, it's 1023. Now, when you're balancing shots, the image in the waveform called the trace, it shouldn't really go below 0 or above 1023. Otherwise, the image is going to clip, and you're going to lose detail. Reading the parade from left to right, each channel corresponds to the image displayed in the viewer. For instance, the left part of this red corresponds to the left part. The red channel of the left part are the image. So for example, this red over here, we can see that it's over here also. Same with the green and the blue channels. So we'll drag the lift master wheel until the bottom of the trace falls somewhere between 0 and 128. So next, we're going to fine-tune the hue and the saturation. Now, let's talk a little bit about additive color theory before we evaluate our color. To create pure white using additive colors, you mix red, green, and blue at full intensity. Now, on a parade scope, a white image would just have that red, green, and blue traces completely level along the top of this graph. That being the case, you'll use the white walls in our shot to make color balancing a little bit easier. Now, it's pretty clear that we've got a blue tint. Now, while the tint is easily seen with our eyes, we can actually confirm it in the parade. So you can see that our blue trace, our blue channel, there's a lot more blue over here in the highlights, the brighter parts of our image. And there's just more. So what we'll need to do is balance these out so they're pretty much level with each other. And we'll do this with the offset color wheel. So we'll drag this towards the yellow-orange until the walls appear white, and the red, green, blue trace, they're level around the top. Okay, so we'll do a before and after. This looks a little bit more even. You can even drop that a little bit more. Okay, so now it looks a little bit more even. Okay, so we've created a balanced, neutral color correction using our color wheels and the scopes. We'll repeat this for every shot in our timeline when we do the color grading process. And when you do that, it builds a consistent neutral starting point for your shots. We're going to continue our adjustments by moving over to clip number 4. And we're going to neutralize this color using primary bars. So go to the color wheels palette and let's click the drop down and choose our primary bars. The primary bars allow you to make color and luminance adjustments similar to the color wheels, but the bars here provide you specific red, green, and blue adjustments for lift, gamma, and gain. It also has the luminance adjustments here. Below, these master wheels still work in the same way as they do in the primary wheels palette. So the main benefit here is the primary bars allows you to adjust a specific color channel or the tonal range individually. So let's drag the lift master wheel to the left, and so we have a deeper shadow. Okay, so we're not clipping in the blue channel till it's just touching that. Okay, so it's right around there. Now, unfortunately, to balance it out, we don't really have something that's pure white in our image, so there's nothing there for our white point. However, the pavement in the background is a neutral gray tone, and we can use that as a reference. So neutral gray, they should all be right around hovering the same sort of amount of red, green, and blue. So we're going to make some adjustments using our primary bars and make these kind of even out a little bit. Now, we're going to hover our mouse over the screen, and then we're going to pull up our Rgb Picker value. This is going to give us the color of that particular part of the image. Now, when I did that, I had to be in my qualifier dropdown right here to see the Rgb Picker. All right, so what we're going to do is adjust it so that our red, green, and blue are hovering around the same sort of number. Now, this is a midpoint, so we're going to adjust our gamma. We'll bring down the red channel a little bit. And let's bring up our blue channel a bit also. It's pretty close. Let's look in our shadows. We don't really have too much of a tint, maybe a little bit. Okay, there's no real tint in the shadows. Okay, so we're close. I think this is good enough for now. So we've balanced this image out, and let's label the node here, call it balance. And the next thing, we'll add a node, option S, and let's add a little bit of style to it. And we're going to add style to it using our primary corrector. Let's go to the primary wheels, and in here we'll we'll add some warmth into the image. So let's go into the gain, and let's bring a little bit more warmth into our image here. And let's add a little bit more of a glow to it. So we'll go down to the correctors number 2 page, and with our mid-tone detail, last time we increased it to increase the sharpness. Let's go the opposite way to make it look softer, to add a little bit of a glow to the image. So we'll also boost the color just a bit. So let's take a look at what the style is before and after. Command D, or you can hit the number of the node, turn it on and off. So you can see what we've done in that. Let's go continue with primary color corrections using curves. Let's select thumbnail 33, which is this right here. Okay, so for this clip, we're going to use curves to do primary color correction. So let's jump into our custom curves, and in the curves window, this indicates your tonal adjustment. So down here is your shadows, this is your mids, and these are your highs. And you can increase or decrease it all the way along this curve. This is your black point and your white. So the custom curve graph is a plot graph in which you can perform incredibly flexible adjustments on specific tonal ranges of images. So the x-axis represents the image's tonal values going from the darkest shadows on the left to the brightest highlights on the right. Now along the y-axis are the outputs, or the offset values, with darker adjustments placed lower on the graph and then brighter adjustments placed higher. So let's tackle our contrast issue first. You can see in our trace that we do not have darker shadows. So let's take our black point and adjust it. So I'm bringing the shadows darker. The opposite end, let's adjust our white point so that our bright lights are bright, but they're not blowing out like that. So this could work right here. It's brighter, but not clipping. So let's compare and contrast before and after. So we've increased the contrast in our image. Let's bring our black point down a little bit more. Okay. So let's work on color balance. Now, although the custom curves here combine all of the color channels and luminance by default, you can independently adjust them by unlinking. So in the curves control area, let's unlink this by clicking this chain, and now they're unlinked. So if we look at the ceiling, it should look white. Right now it looks a little warmer. That means there's a little bit too much red and green in the color channel. And you can also see that the blue channel in the parade is much lower in the highlights than the red or green channels. So we can boost the blue channel so that the ceiling's a little bit better balanced. So let's click the B in the custom curve, and now we're specifically adjusting the blue channel. So let's adjust the blue control point so that it lines up a little bit better with these red and green channels. And as you do that, you can see that we are neutralizing some of that color cast. Let's compare it before and after. Okay, I'll bring it back a little bit. Okay. Now we've got some difficult lighting situations. There's a lot of really mixed lighting here. So what we want to do is find ways of balancing that out also using secondary. Now, you can see that these fluorescent lights cast this green glow in our ceiling, and we want to kind of neutralize that. So we'll start by using a new node, option S, and we'll do a secondary color correction to bring just this green glow down. So you can think of a node as this transparent layer, so to speak, on top of the clip. So when you make any adjustment to the color, those are applied to the node and not to the clip. So as a result, every adjustment in Resolve is non-destructive because you can enable and disable a node at any time. So I want to increase my viewer so it's easier for me to see the adjustments. I'll go to Workspace, Viewer, and I'll go to the option F, the Enhanced Viewer. Now that we've got a bigger viewer, let's take a look at, so let's bring up our hue versus saturation, and let's select this area. I'm going to click and drag around a bit of an area, and I'm going to drag it down. Now you can see that it does work, but it's only in this little bit of an area, and we want to get all these other areas. So I'm going to widen my range just a bit so it's over kind of in this bluish area, and maybe a little bit more on the green side too. We can up and down, you can see how it's actually adjusting a lot more of that. So I will hit the Command and D to enable, disable, just to show before and after. That looks a lot better. It's closer to all the other ones. Bring it down even more. Okay. Before, after, before, after. All right. So we performed a secondary color correction on this green fluorescent glow and decreased the saturation to match all the other. Now we'll move on to copying corrections between similar shots. Now, in color correction, moving images get very challenging because we have to edit multiple angles together into a single timeline and have to make things match. And that's actually a lot of the work that you'll be doing as a colorist. Now, the point of it is really simple. When we're looking around, everything matches. When we look at the corner of a room to the other corner of a room, the lighting there doesn't necessarily change all that much, so it should be similar. In this part, we'll explore a few of the simple tools that Resolve gives us for shot matching, and we'll use these tools to create a seamless flow of sequential shots. So we'll select clip 15. Let's get out of this viewer mode, and let's select clip 15. So this is the same shot as number 14 that we've corrected. And what we want to do is apply the correction that we did on this previous shot to the current shot that we're working on. So you can press the equal sign or go to the color menu and then apply grade from one clip prior, which is that equals. And we've applied it. So it's very similar to just copying and pasting. Let's look at another way of balancing. So let's select number 8. So go to clip number 8. When simple corrections like this is just using one node, we can copy and paste that node onto the other ones. So if you have a 3-button mouse, you can use that third mouse button and click on it here. Since I don't have one, I have a trackpad. I'll just copy and paste. So I'll edit, copy, and here I can command paste. If I had a 3-button mouse, I can middle click the thumbnail of 8, and that means I copied it to number 6. So we'll play through these 3 shots. And they should feel similar because we've applied the same color correction to all of them. Okay. Now copying corrections from clip to clip, it's one of the simplest and most common ways of shot matching, but Resolve also has another tool to assist us in matching shots. Instead of copying and pasting nodes from a clip to another right on the spot, you can save your grades into the gallery and recall them whenever you need them. So let's go to number 4. So this is the grade that we did with the style. And we'll save this grade into our gallery. So let's first pull up our gallery in our interface toolbar. Make sure I'm in the stills folder. And let me right click on in the viewer, and we'll grab a still. So this reference still is saved into our gallery. Now this contains all the instructions to rebuild the correction for that shot. So it's helpful to name it so we'll know what exactly they do later on. So let's right click and change the label and call it Magic Hour. Let's click on thumbnail 3 and we can actually select multiple clips in the timeline. So we'll command click this one here. When we go back to our Magic Hour still, we'll right click and let's apply the grade. You can see that balance and style are applied there. Let's click on this first one, balance and style, both applied there. Let's play it through and see how consistent they are. Okay, that works. So one of the keys when shot matching is picking a few reference shots and using those to work. So we'll compare a few stills to shots in the scene, and that'll help improve the color continuity across the entire project. So let's select thumbnail 5, which is this one. So this is a continuation of these 3 shots, so it should feel the same also. Now to compare this thumbnail with the saved still, let's double click the Magic Hour still in the gallery to open it in the viewer. So we'll double click it. So by default, this is a horizontal split. And the shot from the timeline is on the left, and then our gallery still is on the right. Let's expand the viewer by going into our enhanced viewer, option F. We can drag to the left and drag to the right to wipe the clip to see more of the still or more of the actual clip itself. And this can help us in matching. Now you can see that the pavement in the background is a little bit cooler than the pavement in our still. So let's apply the grade to this clip. Let's exit out of our enhanced viewer and let's right click and apply the grade. You can see that there's a little bit of a difference in the gray. So this looks a little bit warmer. So let's go back here and pull back a little bit. Okay, looks to be a little bit more green. There, okay, looks a little bit better. And to turn off the wipe, you can use this image wipe button right here, or the shortcut is Command W. So shot matching, which is a really important aspect of color correction, is made a little bit easier when you utilize the gallery and reference stills to help your analysis and also to inform your color correction moves. Remember, you should also use the scopes to minimize any visual quirks because your visual perception naturally tends to force the shots to match, meaning your eyes are just really good and it'll just kind of always constantly adjust and help you match even if the shots actually don't match very well. So using the combination of stills in your gallery and scopes will help your shot matching process be more accurate and giving your entire scene and your entire project good color continuity.